Hello. Back on December 17th, or the day before the World Cup final, I posted a comment, or not a comment, but I posted a video concerning a Washington Post article that had come out the week before titled, "Why Doesn't Argentina Have More Black Players in the World Cup?" Okay. First of all, I want to thank you, and I want to say welcome to the Language Cafe. I'm your host, Edgar Montoya. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for likes. Thank you for the new subscribers I have to my channel. This video is my most watched or commented on, most liked. It took off. It has taken off. That video, not this one. This is the new one. That video took off like a rocket. It's been both polemic and it's both interesting. But I want to clarify some things today because I think some things are misunderstood. Okay, so this has to be. Just have to clarify some things here. Different point of view, different perspectives. I think the Latin American one versus the American one. When the Washington Post refers to blacks, okay. First of all, the comments I got were some people saying basically, I don't know if it's like attacking me or agreeing with me, attacking the Washington Post. They don't like, basic one way or the other was implies that Argentines are racists. No. Okay, they quickly came to the defense and saying, beyond the perspective of blacks. Okay, let me explain that clearly about blacks, what we mean in North America. Posters tried to get very defensive on here and just saying, oh, no, look, we have mulattoes, we have mestizos, we have people from Asia, we have people from every part of the world, we have Arabs, we have Asians, mulattoes, and we get along. There's no racism here, there's no discrimination here. It's almost like, what are you talking about? For expressing a point of view and expressing, again, as I said, maybe for expressing what the Post was getting at. But okay, it's a very broad, I think the Latino has a very broad point of view. When you talk racism, they automatically think, oh, everybody. And Argentina is a heterogeneous nation, not to the point that the United States, the same way the U.S. is. But there are a lot of people from around the world, too, in Argentina. And I did mention the immigration in the 1800s, too, was not just, as I mentioned, not just to the United States. They didn't all land on Ellis Island. They went, many of them, to the Atlantic coast of South America, which includes Brazil, Uruguay, and Argentina. Many Europeans landed there. There was also in this part of South America and in the Caribbean a slave trade, which didn't last very years in Argentina itself. In other countries it lasted longer. But anyways, I want to speak about this in a little more clarity today. Black versus the broader sense of race or minorities, indigenous and mestizo and mulatto. But I want to introduce maybe myself a little bit first, a little bit better. Maybe I didn't mention in the first video. I'm Edgar Montoya. My father was Peruvian, first of all, very indigenous, and my father had the look of the breed. My mother's Argentine. She's from Argentina, from northern Argentina, from the province of Corrientes, for those of you who may know Argentina or from there. And my mother may look lily white, but she's not. And I took a DNA test to prove it, to show that she has what the site said was some 7 or 8% indigenous Eastern South American. In that region of Latin America, of South America, northern Argentina, Paraguay, southern Brazil, you will find the Guarani Indians. Or if I have to be politically correct, I guess you have to say the Guarani Native Americans. I'll respect that. But the Guarani. So I'm sure that in my mother's family, on her side too, there's a mix of some Native American who married some straight up Spaniard who came to Argentina, or from other parts. I'm from other parts of Europe and beyond Spain too. My DNA test showed that I may be also partly from even North Africa. So my mom's not lily white. There's an indigenous side on that too. So I'm not coming from the perspective of a white person, a lily white person asking along with the Washington Post, where are all the black people in Argentina? No, I just find that I've been studying actually this for a few years with a book in mind, actually, most likely an idea for a novel. So I've studied this, I've looked at this, I've done research, I've found out things, and I'd like to talk with people, anybody who may be knowledgeable out there about the subject more than I. I'm open. I'm open to as to the history of blacks and minorities in Argentina and in other countries of Latin America. I'm a very proud Latino. As the Argentines say, when it comes to Argentines, I have much family there. There were 13 in my mother's family. Um, as the Argentines say, los banco. I support them. I back them up. Okay, so this never comes from a point of attack. I love my people, Argentines, the culture, the food, the tango, the football to boot. And I was very proud and jumped as happily as anyone last week when Argentina won the World Cup. It was quite a Christmas present for us. But with that in mind, then, clearing that up, I want to speak a little bit on this. Okay, the perspective, when we say blacks, and I said it, people started jumping in and saying, no, 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 no. We're not. We have mestizos, we have mulattoes, we have indigenous, we have everything, and we get along very well. The Washington Post was speaking very specifically, and we do, and North Americans do, from in a very black and white sense. And yes, there are indigenous, there are Latinos here, there are Asians. We're a very heterogeneous, maybe the United States, the most heterogeneous country in the world, as opposed to homogenous, like a country like Japan, which is almost virtually all Japanese, is called homogenous. And when they talk about blacks or lack of blacks in Argentina, where are the blacks? They're basically implying they mean black. They mean Mbappe black. They mean most of the French national soccer team black. They mean LeBron James, Michael Jordan black. Some other countries of South America, Brazil has a lot of black players. Uruguay, I think 4 years ago they had at least one black player. I don't know if I saw him this time. Chile has no blacks. Peru, my father's country, has a few black players, good players. Colombia has blacks. Ecuador used to be all blacks, except for a white goalkeeper. I think that's changed a little bit. But anyways, when the Washington Post is talking about blacks, they mean black. So they're not saying Argentina is racist and everyone's lily white there. They're speaking specifically very black. So that's the perspective is different. They're not talking, they're saying that it's a lily white culture. I think anybody who knows Argentines beyond just the two or three that they might meet, you might meet two or three Argentines and each one is more white than the last one. You think they all look Italian, they're all Spanish, even they look British. But if you get to know more and more Argentines, you will see. In my family alone, I can think of 3 cousins offhand who I have who are very dark, very dark. So I run the range in my family too. I have a cousin who's very blonde-haired, blue-eyed girl. So the perspective is different, what they're talking about. So I sense people in the comments getting very defensive and saying, oh, no, we get along with everybody. We have people from all over the world. But they're wondering specifically about black because, unfortunately, that's in the United States, that's what it's like. What it's like so very much is everything is seen in a black and white perspective, especially in recent years where everything has been seen through the prism of Black Lives Matter, and if you don't side with one side, basically with the left, you're seen as racist, and everything is seen as through this prism of racism. It's very racist. But then on the other hand, if people say, some have said in Argentina, oh, there's no racism, we all get along, you can't act like you all get along perfectly well and everything's hunky-dory and we're joining hands and singing Kumbaya. Because that's just not the case. It's simply not like that. In any world country virtually, except maybe like Japan, we're all the same, where they're all the same, or Norway, Sweden, Finland, the Scandinavian countries where practically everyone is lily white. In every country to some degree or the other, you're going to have a problem with racism. Argentina has its history with that. So we're going to be talking about that. I'm getting away from the black, but as for racism overall, sure, you might say against the indigenous, there's not much racism, but I've seen examples myself in Argentina. Again, I love Argentina. I love the country. I'm Argentine myself. But when I was there, I heard Bolivians referred to as bolitas insultingly. Okay? I've seen blacks. I saw blacks, as I mentioned in the previous video, in downtown streets of Buenos Aires selling jewelry and trinkets. I've seen videos since then, as I moved away, of blacks fighting with white shop owners, and in some cases it's gotten a little bit violent. There is stress, there is racism, that, and there's a history of it too. Now going back to talking about blacks a little bit, in the history of blacks, there was a sizable black population, but the point is what I was saying, what happened to that black population? They, among other things, many of them died off in war. Some people say killed off in wars. There was a lot of intermarriage with whites. Many blacks died to the yellow fever. There were blacks who were sent into exile into Brazil and Uruguay. As one writer I saw interestingly put it, he said the black population was dissipated, was washed down in Argentina until the black Argentine, he said, became a drop of ink in a glass of water. One Argentine general, I have a quote here, a general called Domingo Sarmiento, and I read this as his research. He was the second president of Argentina. He said in a speech to Congress, he said, "I come to this happy chamber of deputies in Buenos Aires, where there are no gauchos or blacks or poor." He said this: there was a movement to eliminate black in Argentina. That's just simple history. I repeat, I love the country, I love the people, but the perspective here is very black and white. But you cannot go, we're too racist here or talk too much about racism. But on the other hand, you cannot say everything is fine, we're just not racist in this country. Most countries have it to some degree or the other, and they speak disparagingly about people of other races. There's no, to say that, you cannot say on the other hand, you say you get along, well, because why? Because we don't exactly have race wars on the streets. You're not killing each other. You're not going out and hunting out minorities and killing them as they do in some countries. It's a group of people who get along. Sure, they get along, but there's never a country that is racism free. So I thank you for listening. I wanted to get that off and say we can agree to disagree, but look, I'm on your side, but just the subject of the lack of blacks, the disparity, the small number of blacks is a very interesting subject in Argentina. I welcome your comments and your likes, and your comment maybe not be insulting. I sure didn't mean to insult, but racism there is, but Washington Post was speaking specifically about blacks in Argentina. Thank you for watching. Again, Edgar Montoya for the Language Cafe. Thank you for watching. Hope you subscribe. Thank you for those who have subscribed. Good night, and